Out of gas. Bitcoin was looking strong as good news on the regulatory front brought some relief to the crypto market, but continuing global uncertainty means the momentum appears to have subsided. Liquid gold. Speaking of uncertainty, oil is top of everyone's mind at the moment as Iran's stranglehold on the Strait of Hormuz sends prices vertical. But never fear, the US has a solution. Make it happen. Crypto needs the Clarity Act to pass before it's too late. We look at where things stand and ask whether there's still time before the election cycle begins. And we'll have the TA from South Florida, tweets of the week, dates for your diary, and much more besides. This is the Coin Bureau News, live.
GM Coin Bureau Crypto Fam, and welcome back to another episode of the Coin Bureau Weekly News live here on a Monday. Joining you from Dubai, it's me, Nick. Guy, how you doing, man?
I'm all right, thanks, Nick. I'm all the better for having seen that shirt. It's a wonderful
It's magical, right? And guess what? It's a pair of pajamas as well. It's got matching shorts as well. It's a pity we're not in the studio today because I would have shown the fans exactly what it looks like. It's perfect, and it's nice and silky as well. Soft, sensual, you know. Late night studio sessions. Late night crypto studio sessions.
I'm happy for you. I love it. I love it.
Sure.
A few people noticing that we are not actually in our regular studio today. We needed to escape, didn't we? Because it's actually very rainy here in Dubai.
Torrential downpours, yes, exactly. So we now apparently a week of rain is upon us, and we need to be careful around. People are going to work from home protocols, so we are abiding by that. But nevertheless, we are going to be bringing you, of course, as always, the Coin Bureau Crypto News, and we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. Because just before the news started, about an hour ago, we got news of the massive taco pivot, and it kind of like messed around with a bit of our talking points, but we've managed to bake it in. So we'll be going back and taking a look at what's happened with Bitcoin, of course, and the crazy week that it was. We'll be taking a look at what's going on in the oil markets, because it has been a wild ride in the oil markets, right, Guy?
It has, it has. This latest announcement has sent them back the other way. I for one, am relieved that I have not been trading or trying to trade oil recently. It's one of those things that just it must have wiped so many people out. Yes, so we'll be talking about oil. We'll also be talking about the progress of the Clarity Act, the flagship crypto regulation that we need to get passed. And folks, before we begin, can I just remind you all to smash that like button? And if we get to, we're not going to go for
1,000 likes.
If we get to 1,000 likes, Nick, then you will reveal where we can all get our hands on pajamas like you're wearing.
That's some really, really secret alpha. I don't know if I can commit to that. Maybe if it's 1,000, maybe I'll do something for our fans. 1,000 likes, yeah. I can send out a batch for each if you guys can hit that 1,000 likes.
Win Nick's pajamas. How about that?
I didn't say win mine, but if that's what they want, really, to get 1,000 likes, they want my worn pajamas. Okay.
Hey, look,
Hey, man, it's bear markets. You got to do whatever you got to do to make some money, hey, man. Exactly. If it works for OnlyFans creators, it probably worked for me as well. Who knows? Okay, let's roll back to the week that was last week. Monday, we kicked off, and Bitcoin started off a strong one, back above 74K. We zoomed past 74K, and the most reliable bidder in the market was out again on Monday, right, Guy?
He was. Michael Saylor bought his biggest bag in months, 22,337 BTC. It's basically him keeping the market afloat, I think.
It's basically mostly just him and strategies, basically the perennial. But we've also got then on Tuesday, Bitcoin came back above 75K, so we're rolling higher and higher. And we also saw some movement on the crypto bull, which we'll be getting onto in a bit, right?
Yep. There was progress there, and as you say, we'll look into that in a bit more detail later. But basically, last week was looking kind of good on the regulatory front, because Wednesday we also had this announcement. We also had this news come in that tokens are not securities, and just to take you back, if this sort of news 4 years ago would have sent the market absolutely ballistic. But we live in different times now. But still, it was big news. This joint announcement from the SEC and the CFTC regarding the status of crypto assets. We covered this a bit on FUD and FOMO on Friday. But yeah, basically some sort of clarity there. And these are still recommendations. I mean, these aren't laws, so we shouldn't get overly excited. But it certainly is confirmation that the SEC and the CFTC have flipped very much pro crypto. We also had the PPI come in hot on Wednesday, though, as well.
Yeah, indeed, much higher than expected. So we're talking 3.4% year on year versus 2.9 expected. That's a pretty big overshoot. Same thing with core, 3.9 to 3.7. So inflation is still there, it's still present, and it came on a time. And then just after that, because that was on the same day as the FOMC, and Trump, of course, had to weigh in between lobbing threats at the Iranians. He decided to lob a threat at or directive at Powell that was he has to cut, called for an emergency cut. And then we did have the FOMC, but did he listen? Did Powell listen, Guy?
Powell was not having it. Obviously, Powell and Trump, I think any bromance that might have existed at any time between those two is pretty much dead in the water. Powell, he does not really care what Trump says. And he also said, because we had this news last week that various investigations into Powell had been suspended and had been called off. And I think the judge ruled that they were basically designed to intimidate, really. There was no other merit to them. So Powell, I think, is very much kind of digging in his heels against Trump. And he said he just would stay on as long as any investigations were ongoing.
Yeah, man, credit to him, standing up for his ethics. On Thursday, on top of the hot PPI numbers and then the no cuts, and also, by the way, there was in terms of the forward guidance and in terms of the dot plot, they were only penciling in one cut for this year. So this, of course, sent the market slower. Bitcoin fell below 70K.
It did, yeah, it did. Friday, it recovered a little bit. It was back above 71K. But all the real action was in the equities market. Equities were going crazy.
Yeah, so what do you think is the main factor here that's driving this equity market, guys? So we had CBS reports Trump considering boots on the ground collapses. Trump says, I don't want a ceasefire, collapses even more. Trump says, we're considering winding down the Iran war, and starts picking up. And then, so it's just all over, man. It's Trump driving the markets, driving the narrative, literally the main character there. And the equity markets had a wild ride, but I mean, gold had an even wilder ride, right?
Yeah, gold saw its biggest weekly decline since 1983, which is just wild. I mean, okay, it had pumped a lot, and we've talked about that a lot on previous streams, but I mean, it was very much holding steady as not only as the debasement trade, but also the safe haven off the back of central bank buying. The People's Bank of China is continuing to absolutely hoover the stuff up, and yet it saw this massive drop off. Like I say, biggest since the 80s. Yeah,
crazy. And then on the weekend, unfortunately, the ETF outflows did pick up. We saw 3 straight days streaks of outflows, so it's slowly beginning to turn again.
I'll tell you what else picked up, Nick, was Trump's yapping. Trump, he just would not stop, sort of lobbing threats around, all to do with the Strait of Hormuz, which is the closer of which is the big sort of macro story at the moment.
Yeah, and this, I believe, was the threat to bomb civilian infrastructure should they not open the straits in 48 hours. Anyways, of course, Bitcoin collapsed on this news. There we go. As per usual, the only asset you can sell during weekend hours is the one that gets crypto, so it gets sold. And then as the markets open today, Asian markets sold off aggressively as well.
Yep. Asia has been particularly exposed. I think a lot of Asian oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz, but then Nick, it was taco time.
Taco time, taco. Oh man, we love our tacos. So this, yeah, like I say, broke at least probably 2 hours ago. And this was the news that there a 4-day pause on strikes, and there was discussions going on with Iran. And of the moment that this happened, Bitcoin, of course, screamed higher. But you know, I don't know. There's still lots of questions, right?
Lots of questions. And I mean, really, especially along as because Iran has actually said that these talks haven't taken place. And I must say, like, you know, there's been some, you know, the war is being fought out on social media as well as in the skies above Iran and in the Strait of Hormuz, and you know, in sort of in markets in general. You know, you got Iran sort of trolling Trump. Trump, obviously, you know, the master, the troller in chief, trolling. I mean, pretty much everyone. You know, not just Iran, but you know, he'll occasionally take a break to troll some of his allies. You know, he made some comments to the Japanese Prime Minister that were a little bit off. I thought last week, a little bit much.
A little bit off.
I mean, seeing as neither of them were actually alive when Pearl Harbor happened.
And then, to be honest, I mean, give him some credit. At least he didn't try and do it in a Japanese accent.
Well, yes, that is true. It can always be worse, Nick. It can always be worse. But yeah, I mean, like, look, you know, this could all have changed by tomorrow. It could all have changed by the end of the stream, to be honest.
Of course, man. So anyways, but what's to come to this week? Well, there's no real big economic releases, but of course, all focus will be on the Middle East. That is the biggest news. Stocks, futures are slightly up. Just quickly taking a look at some charts. On the weekly chart, I want to show you these guys. Now, we've been tracking this weekly chart for the past 3 weeks, and for the third week in a row, it has not managed to break through the 72 to 74K resistance zone. That's been a previous resistance zone, so it's very strong there. We did manage to spike above it last week, but we unfortunately closed way low below it. In fact, we also closed below the 200-week exponential moving average. Right now, we've had this pump that's come through, and we are back above the 200-week exponential moving average, but it will determine, in terms of direction in the coming weeks, we will have to try and close back above that 72 to 74K range in this coming week to regain that momentum. And then one more thing on the daily, which I did mention on FUD on FOMO, which is not looking too good here, is this kind of, you see, counter trend fractal, recovery fractal, right? And basically you can kind of see the counter trend rally we had between December and January that took us from 68 to 98K. Seems to be playing out again now to a degree, and you can also see the similarities with the MACD, the bearish MACD crossover that happened after that collapse in that trend line, and we've now got a bearish crossover. Hopefully, the good news that we've seen out of the Middle East continues to take Bitcoin higher, and we can close the week above. But this is something to keep an eye out for, guys.
Absolutely. Okay. Forewarned is forearmed, as they say. Now, folks, if you're feeling bullish or bearish on Bitcoin, or indeed any other or crypto in general, and you want a top-tier international exchange to trade on, then you have to check out 2bit. 2bit's an international exchange. They have an incredible interface. They've got deep liquidity, competitive fees. Onboarding is super simple. You just need an email address. And then that lets you create an account and explore the platform right away. Right, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. And currently we're offering Coin Bureau viewers over 90K worth of trading rewards. So for example, if you've created an account, you've tried it out with an email, that's all you need to do. And if you want to actually start trading on it, then you can deposit into the account and you can get up to 90K in trading rewards, as well as a VIP level 1 upgrade, which gets you 50% off trading fees. And this is for life, right, guys? And this is exclusively for Coin Bureau viewers. So just scan the QR code on the screen right now. Link also in the description. Go and give 2bit a try. So how's sentiment looking, Guy?
It's not too bad, I have to say, Nick. I have to say there's a few hard truths out there. This one here: no cuts in 2026. This is in terms of rate cuts. I'm beginning to think that could be bang on.
If inflation sticks out, yeah. If inflation sticks out, this I'm glad to see. Well, hopefully, man. Hopefully, That's the one thing that's been, it's been the light of my portfolio for the past year. And now I'm like, ever since this happened, I'm just like,
you did very much interpret these Iranian attacks as a sort of personal assault on you and your portfolio, Nick. So
it actually has. I can't believe it. The one time I diversified from my crypto portfolio into Dubai property market just at the right time. It was actually up a lot in gains and all this kind of stuff. I remember even literally it's like a week before, no, like a few days before this thing started, flying around. I remember telling one of our business partners there, I was like chuffed. It's like, thank God for my Dubai property portfolio, because it's been one of the only things performing in this market. And it's like, I spoke too soon. I should not have said that. I don't deserve nice things.
No, you should know better than that, Nick. You've been in this game long enough now to know that, as soon as you open your big mouth, that's when disaster shows up. I want to flag this up from Liz as well, regular viewer and commenter. We could be heading for a hike before a cut. I mean, we can't really rule that out. I'm sure Jerome Powell would do that with a smile on his face if he had.
Him and Lisa Cook, one of the two voting members that Trump's taken on. So, yeah. But obviously, the main thing that's driving the Fed decision making right now is inflation, and inflation has been driven by oil and energy prices. And speaking of oil and energy prices, that brings us to our next topic, which is, of course, the oil market. And we were going to talk about this, and we structured all these notes prior to the news of this potential ceasefire, but they're still up in the air. But let's take a look at what actually drove these decisions prior Trump actually deciding to kind of taco. And firstly, I mean, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz was the biggest thing, right, Guy?
It was, yeah. Obviously, everyone's been reading up on what the sort of geography of that terrain is like. But yeah, there were Iranian forces were mounting attacks there, and that area as well is very difficult. It's a very sort of rugged coastline. There's lots of places from which attacks can be launched. There's lots of ways in which attacks can be launched. And look, 20% of global seaborne crude passes through the Strait of Hormuz, as reported in Reuters here and everywhere else. It is quite literally a choke point. These confirmed attacks on merchant ships, tanker traffic fell around 70%, and 150 plus ships just anchored out there in the Strait, just kind of waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, and the scale of this shock is mind-blowing historically as well. I mean, we've got a chart here which we tweeted out earlier, but it's like, if I recall what I said in the stream last week, is that the Suez crisis in the 60s was 10% of global oil supply, and this is 20%. So it's mad. And you did a video on this last week, right, Guy?
I did, yeah, I did. So yeah, this was on Coin Bureau Finance, obviously kind of talking about, all of this in more detail. And it was, there was a lot of talk in that video about strategic reserves as well, because obviously a lot of countries have these reserves. Not all of them, not every country has reserves, but these reserves are now being tapped into, because obviously that's what they're for, for times like this. But what I found really interesting from that video was that, okay, these reserves, some of them are fairly substantial. Some of them might get their particular countries through this period if it doesn't last for too long. But what's important to note in terms of, their effect on oil prices now and in the future, of course, those reserves will have to be refilled as well. So even if the Strait were to reopen tomorrow, and, there's a huge backlog and stuff. So even if it was to open now, that backlog would take time to clear. The chaos would continue for a while. But again, even if it's opened now, even if things eventually get back to normal, there will still be a huge bid for oil in the market, because all these countries will be wanting to refill their reserves. Probably countries that didn't have much in the way of reserves beforehand will be thinking, well, we should probably get this sort of thing in. I guess most countries with reserves will look to maybe top them up, to greater levels than they were before. So what this represents, I think, is an ongoing kind of structural bid for crude, which you would imagine is going to keep oil prices, or certainly going to sustain higher oil prices indefinitely.
Yeah, and that's why oil is now still above $100. Another canary in the coal mine here is jet fuel and refined products. So the Hormuz closure has removed up to 20% of global crude and the refined fuel supply. So refiners are relying on this Middle Eastern crude, are cutting runs, and they directly, this is, for example, jet fuel output, and this is surged across Europe and Asia as well. So jet fuel is already in shortage in Asia and Africa, and gasoline and diesel markets are next in the next few days. And I think that also in the US, diesel prices are going through the roof. And look at these gas prices for the average US consumer. They're at the highest level since 2022.
Yeah, that is not going. If those aren't down significantly by November and the US midterms, that is going to be a huge problem, because Americans, perhaps more than anyone else, really rely on their cars, famously. So high gas prices do not go well. And look, one of the craziest things in this ongoing sort of crazy story is, things are going well when you actually have to lift sanctions on your enemy. This is crazy. This is absolutely.
Oh yeah, it's just ridiculous, right? You're literally helping to fund, like a week ago, they were helping fund Russia's war in Ukraine by unsanctioning some Russian oil at sea, and now they've done the same with Iranian oil, which is mad. But then, of course, that's what happened prior. We got the taco today. It's still breaking. We'll have to see if it lasts. Literally breaking the taco over there, over in the White House. Markets clearly love it because oil has fallen through the floor. Still above 100 though now, but yeah.
But there are questions still remaining about this, as we talked about earlier. This is the uncertainty has not gone away.
It hasn't, and the Iranians are actually also. So this is what an oil expert. That's the Iranians trolling Trump on one of their missiles. Talking about trolling. But going back to the point around the FT article, just guys, you can pull that up again. Oil experts are saying still, we don't know the certainty around it. There is the backlog we talked about, and the refined products backlog. And right now, the Strait of Hormuz are still closed. We don't know. We don't have clarity around that. So, guys, I think this is not the end of the story. Oil is still sticking above $100 right now. And, as we've seen over the past few weeks, it's not as if Trump is, one to stick to a plan.
Yeah.
So now he says this. We don't know. We don't know what the Iranians are saying. We don't even know who he's speaking to on the Iranian side, because the top guys have been killed. So,
well, this is a particular irony, isn't it? Because I think it wasn't so long ago Trump was saying, like, there's no one to negotiate with because we've killed them all. It's like, well, who have you been negotiating with? Maybe he's been in touch with the spirit of the late Ayatollah.
Or he's been in touch with the Iranians. Iranians are running a advanced ChatGPT chatbot. The Khomeini's entered the chat because apparently he's also unconscious. So they're basically just using ChatGPT to speak to Trump. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe he's just calling up random Iranians. By this point, you wouldn't rule it out. Before we go on to the next topic, I do want to say though, I think I should have put it in the materials here, but there was a really interesting tweet from Balaji Srinivasan, the former Coinbase CTO, last week, talking about all of this. And, he made a really interesting point, I think. China has been leading the way on kind of the move towards renewables, reducing its dependence on oil, in the form of solar panels, nuclear power, electric vehicles, etc. And I think, that transition is only going to accelerate now, I think, because even if, I know there's a lot of opposition to that. There's a lot of opposition in the UK to what, is called net zero there. But I think this is going to remind people that oil, even if you put aside the environmental aspect of it all, oil is inherently unstable because of where it's produced, how it has to be moved around, how it has to then be refined, how there are all these choke points in the system. And I kind of think, the long-term effect of this is basically going to be more countries doing more to move away from dependence on oil, because I don't think, I think the consensus is going to be, we can't really go on like this, surely.
Yeah, indeed. And this, for sure, oil is going to still be volatile for the next few weeks. And if you guys want to take advantage of this volatility, then the best place to trade that is on BitGet, our next brand partner. Now, BitGet has got what they call BitGet TradFi, which allows you to trade these perps on lots of different assets and traditional financial assets, for everything from stocks to also commodities like oil and gold. So if you guys don't have a BitGet account yet, first of all, you can sign up now using the QR code over there on the screen or the link in the description. Exclusively for our viewers as well, there is a deposit bonus on offer of up to $50,000. But once you've created your BitGet account, just go and trade there. You can trade directly with USDT. You can have up to 500 times leverage, and you can enjoy the deepest liquidity and the lowest slippage. So go and sign up on BitGet and enjoy some oil perp trading.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. Yes. Yeah, enjoy that, folks. Okay, Nick, I have some bad news for you. I have some news for you. You and I we are drinking in the Last Chance Saloon. Did you know that?
Yeah. There we go. Last Chance Saloon, man, for crypto. There we go. My AI generated. I'm loving my ChatGPT AI generated content for the streams, Guy. I mean,
I really like this. I think, Nick, this just says it all, doesn't it? You just have to look at a beer and it ages you about 10 years. I mean, I look much as I always look.
The mere whiff of beer, Guy, can age me like that. I can't be in bars.
It's been too long since you had a beer.
Oh, man.
So, yes, but I did enjoy that. Yes, so we are in the Last Chance Saloon as far as you can see from the back of that picture there, the Clarity Act is concerned, right?
Exactly. Now, there was a lot of moves that were made last week, and there is some potential breakthrough. For one, the Senate Republicans pushed to lock in a markup, and this is Tim Scott and Toon over in the Senate have set April as a hard deadline. So there's over 100,000 amendments that have been filed, and the majority leader Toon signals no floor action before April 2026. So this is the make or break week or two.
Yeah. Now there is some good news though, because Senate Democrats, and this is not exclusively but largely along party lines, the split on this vote. Senate Democrats have actually signaled a possible breakthrough. Two, Alsobrooks and Tillis agreed in principle on stablecoin yield, and anyone who's been following this will know that this has been the big sticking point, especially as far as the banks are concerned. As you can see from the headline there, it seems like a compromise has been reached. Now, as I understand it, this compromise takes the form of you won't be able to earn yield on passive stablecoin holdings. So if you've just got your stablecoin sat in your wallet, no. That's not going to work. But if you're deploying those stable coins into DeFi, into particular protocols, then that is when you can earn a yield on them, as far as I understand.
Yeah, that's what seems like the compromise that they're going towards. The White House also sides with the crypto industry on this stablecoin yield, so they are pushing the banks to accept some sort of a deal. So that's good. But it is a very tight deadline, Guy.
Yeah. So, Galaxy's Alex Thorne, who's had some good coverage on this, he says basically if they don't make this April committee vote, then Clarity is effectively dead until 2027. And I think this is basically because if it misses the vote in April, after that is when the midterm election cycle starts, and there just won't be the time or the inclination in Congress to discuss this any further. The priorities will have shifted elsewhere, and we'll basically have to wait till after the midterms. And of course, the midterms ain't looking too hot for the Republicans at the moment, so could be a very different shape of Congress after them might not be so pro-crypto.
Yep. But the ever the optimist Senator Cynthia Lummis, she says that they are close this time. So we'll have to see. The prediction markets also are showing that they're expecting this to be close. So we've had them rallying in terms of probabilities with Kelshi, and I think 69% on Kelshi and 68% on Polymark at the latest. So it seems as if the markets are getting, viewing this as positively. So let's see.
Yeah, we shall see. It's by no means guaranteed. Those are pretty good odds, and prediction markets have been particularly effective in calling these sorts of things in the past. So let's see. I don't know. I'm very much 50-50 at this stage. I'm a little less bearish on it than I was recently. I think there is a better chance. I think there does seem to be the appetite to get this thing through, especially now that it looks like the banks and the crypto industry are willing to compromise as far as stablecoin yield goes. I think that's a really good sign. But I still think it's 50-50 at best.
Make or break week, guys. But with that out of the way, let's roll over to our correspondent in sunny South Florida, Miami, for the TA with Lewis.
Charts and trends, he'll show the way. Lewis brings the TA today.
What's going on, guys? So honestly, not that much has changed when it comes to technical analysis or when it comes to the charts on my end. Personally, from the FUD and FOMO show, I did say that I was in a long position on Bitcoin, so I did buy some Bitcoin. And honestly, I am really hoping, obviously, since I bought it, that it does end up reclaiming this. It looks like it's already on its way, reclaiming this diagonal support line, and then eventually going back above the, big horizontal line, which is somewhere around 71,000, that big resistance. So if it gets back above here, that's what I'm hoping for another move up to at least 78,000, 79,000, which is the 50% Fibonacci. That's where I want to be taking my profits. And if it does actually come all the way up to 81, 82, 83, 84, anywhere up here, that's where I'm going to be looking for shorts, because like I said on the FUD and FOMO show, I do eventually expect it to come back down. But right now, this is probably the only coin that I want to be looking at, because the RR is good, the risk reward is good, and pretty much with other coins, it's still too unpredictable for me. Because we're in a bear market, right? So it always goes Bitcoin and then Ethereum and then other altcoins and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm sure other coins probably will do okay. I know ZEC was a big one in 2025, right? You could see it did this absolutely crazy run up and then even had this right here. So some of these ones I could be looking at, but honestly, I think the safest bet is just with Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm just on Bitcoin because I like where the total market cap is, where the fact that it is on this diagonal trend line right here, and this has been a really, really big trend line ever since 2020 of March 2020, right? So just given where we are right here, I figure I'd give it a stab. And like I said, because we're in a bear market, I'm just gonna be trying to trade Bitcoin. I don't really want to be looking at many other things right now. But honestly, if it does fall back down again, then I think that's going to be really bad, and I'm probably just going to get out and just wait and not really do anything for the foreseeable future. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not too much. So I'll just give it back to you guys.
Wow, our Lewis AI voice is working well.
Yes.
Yeah, we're trying to train them.
Why do you think we didn't get any video from him today?
I don't know. There's many theories I have there. One could be that it's AI. Another could be that it was very, very late. He didn't have a place to shoot. Who knows? But either way, man, we got the TA alpha, so that's all good, man. I mean, as long as he's okay, as long as Lewis is okay, that's what we care about.
Absolutely. I reckon he's just had an absolute monster of a weekend. Probably not looking his best.
He is in Miami, bro. I mean, do you blame him?
I know. Well, yeah, he's just living his best Miami life. We'll or maybe it is AI, like you say. Okay, should we have a look, Nick, at some of the tweets of the week?
Let's let it roll, guys. Kim Jong-un has officially won North Korea's parliamentary elections with votes totaling 99.93% of the votes. well done. Really
well done.
Universally loved.
Endorsement.
Guy, do you think that the 0.07% of the voters who didn't vote for him are still alive?
I would think if they are still alive, it's not for much longer. Do you think they just go like, we can't put it 100, 99.93? Let's just suggest
totally believable. There's got to be some dissent somewhere. Somewhere there has to be someone just to make it realize this is not a broken voting machine.
Even
the vote no button does actually work. It's just whoever pushes it ends up dead, but it still does work.
Team Graz is asking who was his opponent. I guess probably they've been liquidated.
His sister or something, or so maybe his daughter.
Probably
or something.
Never know.
Cool. Next tweet.
Okay, what do we got next? Do we have anything there? I mean, that's okay. Young Hoon Kim. Oh, this is the guy with the highest IQ in the whole world, right?
Yeah, and as per usual, as if I wasn't expecting that. I mean, everyone was expecting this. Eventually, he was going to use his crypto Twitter IQ clout to launch a meme coin, and there we go, as per usual.
I mean, you've got to admire the ambition of it to end poverty in the world. Fantastic. I mean,
there we go.
If he'd been following the crypto market recently, he'd know that has probably contributed quite a lot to poverty. These high IQ people,
he's trying to help us out. I think he's coming to the crypto space to help us out. That's why he's here, to end poverty, because we're all basically poor.
And our poverty.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm all for that. Okay. Next up, we have.
This is very interesting. Yes, this is fun fact. This is provably, in terms of like historical trends, one of the best indicators for Bitcoin performance, Guy, has been the release of Dune movie trailers, and this you can actually check it out. The past 2 Dune movie releases have coincided with a Bitcoin bull market, the bottom of the bear market. So this is some pretty sound TA, Guy. So if you guys are thinking of buying Bitcoin, this is the indicator you should be looking at. Forget about everything else. Forget about the RSIs. Forget about the moving averages. You got to take a look at the Dune TA indicator.
Yeah. Have you seen that trailer, by the way? Are you a fan of the Dune franchise?
I must admit, Guy, I don't have any idea what the Dune franchise is.
You're missing out. You're missing out. The first 2 are really good, and the trailer for the third does look pretty awesome as well. Great.
Do I need to watch the first 2 to watch the third to understand what's going on, or?
Probably, yeah. Probably.
I don't have time for that, sorry.
But it's all kicking off. Duncan Idaho is back. So that's big news. I think Robert Pattinson stars in this latest one as well. Looks like he might be the baddie too. So it's going to be good, Nick. It's going to be good. Got to be excited about it,
man. Take your word for it. Next week, this is a good one.
Donald. If the war in Iran gets any worse, Trump might have to consider releasing the Epstein files as a distraction from our
and he'll probably even release some fake files in there just to make it even, just to completely throw everyone off the Iran war. Not look at it, guys. Don't look at the thousands of troops getting killed on the ground operation. There's this salacious new factoid in the Epstein files. Open everything up to everyone, like an Easter egg, just to get them off of the calamitous war right now.
I wouldn't bet against it. That's a great tweet. Is that it for tweets of the week?
That is it for tweets of the week. Yes.
Some absolute bangers there. So, Nick, have you got any dates for our diary this week? Anything we should be keeping a lookout for?
I mean, to be honest, it's mostly focusing on what's going on with the Iran news. That will drive a lot of stuff. There is, on Friday, some consumer sentiment numbers, which, given what's going on, I can't imagine they're too cheery right now, given that everything is up because oil is used as a derivative for many, or there are many derivatives of oil in the economy. Everything from plastics to energy and everything. So yeah, I mean, it's a big factor for people's lives. So consumer sentiment will probably not be looking too good these days.
Yeah, I'm personally looking forward to the release of those consumer sentiment numbers because they're, I think, the only numbers that can make my portfolio numbers look good by comparison. So I am all in favor of those, looking forward to them very, very much. Okay, I just want to scroll through the comments and just see if anything stands out. Discovering Florida, pointing out fertilizer will get hit as well. Food prices will get hit.
Farmers are struggling, Farmers are struggling with supply, also because a lot of fertilizer comes through the Straits.
Yeah. I tell you what is also people are missing. I've seen a few comments like this in previous streams as well. Do you remember when we had a CME gap? Do you remember
those are the days? The only thing we had to worry about over the weekend was whether there would be a CME gap. Now it's literally, are we on the brink of World War III? The simpler days when the CME gap was all we had to worry about.
Yeah, and of course, what with 24/7, 365 CME trading, they're soon going to be a thing of the past.
It's on the way out. Although there was a CME gap today, guys, and it actually closed instantaneously. Well, at the moment, Trump made that statement, but there was a CME gap. So old reliable still around for the next few months until we have 24/7 trading. I would still keep an eye on it.
Okay, Nick, you need to report these things for your fans and fans of CME gaps everywhere, because we rely on them. We need them in these difficult times.
I'm gonna set those notifications, get them to you guys.
Absolutely. Someone else, Alan Spicer, if that really is his name, says finally proof that Guy and Nick live in the same apartment. Guy in the spare room while recording. Alan, that is nonsense. Nick is in the spare room. I am in the master suite. Good grief.
Yeah, I've been relegated to the spare room. Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely. Discovering Florida, again, can't believe I'm a Dune fan. Why not? Dune is brilliant. Those Dune picks are some of my favorite films of the last few years. I think they're brilliant. We will leave the last word to Brett, our most committed viewer. Without CME gap, Nick will have nothing to trade, and you'll just have to copy trade Lewis.
Yeah, I'm going to be copying our AI Lewis. Not only have we developed an AI Lewis voice, but we've also developed an AI bot, an AI Lewis bot, which I will copy trade. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, that is about it for today, folks. Get ready for another mad week. I'm sure overnight some crazy stuff will go down and everything will look different tomorrow. Trump will chicken out again. It'll all go absolutely insane. So, but don't worry, we will be with you through all of it, and we will be back next Monday, same time, same place, to keep you up to date on everything. So until then, folks, thank you for watching. See you again soon.
See you guys then.
Fantastic show this week, 9 out of 10. What up and down, 10 if Guy wants his t-shirt before the show. I was told Guy Fieri was a co-host of this show. Where is he? Guy might look old, but he doesn't look that old. We want Cousin Barry. We really miss Cuz Barry. We want Cousin Barry. We really miss Cuz Barry.
Nick, have you got some people around? You got some friends?
Who, these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're just some friends.
Ah.
Go way back. Yeah, it's getting a bit lonely in here.
Okay.